So he's like, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I'm sure it's busy for you today, like every other day right now during this whole COVID situation, everything you guys have been doing at the restaurant. Tell us a little bit about maybe what advice would you have for anyone that's interested in starting their own business?
Have a good business plan. Like I said before, having a good business plan and not being blindsided. There's always going to be unknowns. There's going to be things that situations like this that you cannot prepare for. But if you have a solid business plan and you've done your research, I think that's the recipe for success. But you have to be committed. You have to be resilient, and you have to stay positive. You have to stay positive because in order for a business to be successful, you have to be able to withstand it at least 5 years, especially in the restaurant industry. Um, there's a rule of thumb that if you're able to make it past the 5 years, you're probably gonna make it, probably. And I don't know what the exact stats are with that, but restaurants, they're either gonna make it or break it within the first 5 years, and that's because when you open a business, everyone wants to go check it out because it's the latest and greatest, right? But then that kind of wears out. And so then you have to be able to make sure that you're consistent and you're able to provide a good product, good service, good food, everything, right? And if you're able to do that, then that's where, going back to where we started, the repeat customers come into play. And if you're able to build off of that, I mean, I can't say it enough. I've built relationships, I built friendships because of the restaurant, because we were able to make that connection because of the restaurant, whether it was the food, the service. As far as starting a business, obviously right now would be, I wouldn't even say it wouldn't be a hard time. It would just be different. It would just be different, and you have to be able to adapt. I think one of the reasons why we've been able to create such a following, obviously social media helps a little bit, the fact that we were able to tap into our social media and get that out. That's huge. Using social media as an asset is huge, because if you have someone that is savvy with that and is willing to take chances, that's going to help. There's a saying in Spanish, lo barato sale caro, right? And in that saying, you're saying a couple things. One is that basically you're going to get what you pay for, right? But two, when you try to cut corners, it might hurt you. There's a lot of there's a lot of people out there that can promise you, a taco for 99 cents.
Mhm.
Go for it. Go for it. In the video industry, in the camera, in the photography industry, people will say, "Oh, I'll shoot your wedding for a couple bucks," and then you get your pictures, and you're like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were gonna take pictures with your phone." That kind of thing. It's like those extremes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's a photographer nowadays, right? In the restaurant industry, there's ways to cut corners, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that because people will see right through you, and they'll call you out. And that's the last thing you want. You want to be able to produce consistent food, drinks, service, and that's going to get you a long way.
No, excellent tips of advice. Go ahead.
The even you were asking me about things that people should think about for starting a business, specifically right now. Hey, there's business opportunities out there. Like you just have to be creative. There's a demand for just about anything, but you just have to be creative. Like we're a restaurant. Again, it's not anything that nobody has ever thought about before. But what I did is I tapped into what I knew. And what I knew was that we had good products, we had good food, the margaritas, but I also have a good amount of friends and networking. And when you network and you're able to tap into that, that's a huge asset. And when you realize that you can actually use that as an advantage, it's huge. That's huge, because I say it for my personal experience, there's restaurants that have decided to close. They decided to close because they thought the epidemic was either going to pass and it wasn't going to be too long, or maybe they were just scared. Well, now what happens is they realize that the rent isn't going to pay itself, the utilities aren't going to pay itself, and the government is not coming to knock on your door anytime soon. So in the past week alone, I've seen, I don't know, a good 10, 15 restaurants that have been closed are now open or are planning on opening because they're like, well, I guess this is the way it's going to be. And so moving forward for us as a business, we're switching things up too, because, Miguel's going to come in with his family and social distancing is going to be an issue. So you're going to be conscious of it. We have to be conscious of it. So therefore, even if the city doesn't tell us your capacity is going to be X amount, even if they say 50%, right? We have a capacity of 300 people here, right? That's full. You're going to cut that in half. Well, I think you need to cut that by another half, just because I'm going to hesitate. I'll be honest. I'm going to hesitate to take my kids out into public. I'm a parent. I'm a parent first, and I'm going to always put my kids first. And if I have to go to Target, as much as I don't like to go to Target, I'll go to Target because I don't want my wife or my kids going to Target, and so the same thing goes for the restaurants. Restaurants we're going to take a hit for a little while until we adjust. Yeah. So even with all that said, I still think that there's opportunities. I think there's more opportunities. So what? Our dining rooms are not open. Well, we're going to have to increase our footprint on the delivery end. Again, going back with trying to eliminate the third-party apps of the world. I almost said their name. The third-party apps of the world. So with that, I mean, you talk about where I first started, making sure that the app is solid, making sure that our images are solid, making sure that our marketing is solid. All those components you have to make sure are in place so that you can adjust on the fly. Yesterday when I posted my video, it was a little emotional because there hasn't been that many times in my career here at the restaurant that I can hold my head up and say, man, I did it, because everything is always so fast. Everything always moves so fast and you're on to the next one. So we got Cinco de Mayo. Okay, next week we have Mother's Day. Oh, and the next week, by the way, it's Father's Day. Oh, and after that, guess what? It's Pride. Yeah. So you can't take time to relish the moment. You have to keep on building on it, right? Mm-hmm. And so with this whole Cesar's Mobile effort, the thing that I really hold my head up is and I'm just being honest with you, is that I've been able to keep my full-timers full-time. And in a couple instances, even more. One of my cooks was like, I think I'm working more now than I was before.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's awesome, right? That's awesome because
I mean, that's incredible that you're able to still stay in business and keep people employed. There's so many people that are struggling right now. So the fact that you're being able to provide for others, not just for your direct family, but for others, I mean, it's incredible. And it's a testament to what you guys do there at Cesar's that goes beyond just the food. And can you touch a little bit on that? I think people, when they get into business, they don't think, from what I've seen, from what I've experienced, because we specialize in marketing and utilizing media to leverage marketing. A lot of marketing efforts are ultimately thinking ahead, right? So how much thinking ahead do you think that's necessary when you're a business owner? You touched a little bit on the impacts after COVID, which I think a lot of people don't think about. Okay, most people just think about the now, but what are the long-term effects? What are the 6 months? What are the 12 months effects of this? And you're already kind of touching into that. So how important is it to be able to tap into the future in terms of how things function within your industry so that you can be successful in the long term?
No one can predict, and no one could have predicted this. So that's huge. There's certain things that you can forecast, but you can't predict. You can forecast Mother's Day is coming up, for instance, so you start planning for that. This year we're not having Pride, but we're thinking about doing something for that. Our dining rooms aren't occupied. We started thinking about doing things for Cinco de Mayo 3 weeks ago, even before they told us that we weren't going to be able to open. Yeah, staying ahead, trying to stay ahead. Again, when I say staying positive, I mean it in the sense that if you start dwelling on the present, it's whether it's the good stuff or the bad stuff, you can't do it too long. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, a couple of the kids from school saw me because I was NBC came to do a thing on the third-party apps, and well, I coach a lot of these boys and girls, and so my kids were online playing, and they're like, "Hey, your dad was on TV," and I got home, and the kids were all excited, and the one thing I took away from that is that I told my kids, I'm like, you can never get too high, and you can never get too low. You know, that opportunity to be on TV or to be in front of a camera, it's a great opportunity, right? It propelled us to stay afloat, you know, to keep doing what we're doing. But going back to the dwelling, you can't say, oh, you know, I was on TV, or, oh, Miguel made this awesome video, I'm going to make millions. Like, no, you have to take that and say, okay, that was good. Let's go. Let's keep on moving forward. Let's build on that. You know, so now I have these great pictures that this guy took. I'm going to build on it, and I'm going to use those for nice ads. I'm going to give these to my graphic designer, and let's get together and think about, actually at the beginning of the year, you're talking about what do we do to forecast, or what do we do to, you know, plan out. At the beginning of the year, I get together with my web designer, my graphic designer, and we talk about what are the important things, what are the things that we need to target. Obviously, there's a lot of adjustments during the course of the year, but we have to stay the course because there's things that won't change. Again, I'll go back to Mother's Day. Mother's Day is going to be the same. Actually, Mother's Day is bigger because no one really cares about dads, but that's another story. But there's certain days that you can capitalize. So we anticipate, you know, and we get ready for that. Predicting is hard. Forecasting, I think, is a little easier because forecasting, for me, the way I interpret it is that you're setting like a game plan up, right? And it's like playing a game. It's like playing football. You know, you have all your plays. You have your plays designed. You just got to know when to put them in, when to install them, and you need to adjust. You know, you need to adjust.